to business. Metroidvanias are fun. Did they send me whistling chickens when I asked for guns? You're the saddest bunch I've ever met, but you can bet before we're through, Mr. I'll make a Metroidvania out of you. Platforming must be swift as the coursing river. Combat with the force of a great typhoon. True winding to take the story higher. Exploration mysterious as the dark side of the moon. Metroidvania, my. On an island forest somewhere on the ocean, a colony of little yellow birds resides. One fateful day, something catastrophic happens, threatening to destroy the island and all its chicken inhabitants. Thankfully, Tori's here to save the day. With the help of an ancient race of telepathic frogs, our chicken protagonist will... Oh my god, what even is this game? Everyone and their fat ugly mamas kept telling me that Tori 2 was a Metroidvania, but I refused to play it because its subtitle read Epic Puzzle Adventure, and we all know how much I hate puzzle platforming in my Metroidvanias. I've already spoken a little about Tori 2 in one of my tier list updates, so if you've been keeping up with the channel, then you know this isn't gonna go well for our little chicken game. But, in my defense, I gave the game a fair shake. I still hated it, but I played it all the way through, so I think I'm more than entitled to talk about it. So, I'm gonna. Let's start with combat in Tori 2.
And this is where I put combat. If I had one!
There are lots of threats in the game, but you really can't do anything about them without using the environment. Your chicken can only do two things, whistle and stomp, and neither of these things hurt anything directly. Granted, this is a puzzle platformer, so combat isn't the focus. If that's the case, then how's the puzzle platforming? I'm gonna stop you right there. This is not a platformer. To the game's credit, it doesn't call itself a puzzle platformer, but many outlets do, such as Wikipedia and a whole bunch of other review sites. I'm not the authority on what a platformer is, but we can all agree that platformers must have running and jumping. Tori has neither of those things. He can hop up onto slightly elevated steps, but that doesn't count. That's just basic movement. You don't even have to press a button to do it. So, after amending my question for accuracy, it now reads, how are the puzzles? To which I can respond, I hate them. I hate them all. I first want to praise the devs for making clever use of the game's sparse mechanics. The amount of stuff you can do by just whistling and stomping truly is impressive. That doesn't mean I have to like it. Of course, my distaste for the puzzles are subjective. You might be sitting there thinking, but I loved the puzzles. That's awesome. This game was made for you. Me? I'd rather stick a red hot iron up my ass than be forced to wait on one of those stupid bubble frogs to get into the exact position I need to finally move forward. I just do not have the patience for this game. There's so much waiting for elements to line up just right, and if you mess up, there's a good chance you gotta wait all over again. You all really don't know how torturous this game was for me. If I can lavish this game with a little bit more praise, I'd say I loved its quote-unquote ability gating. There are no upgrades or abilities per se. Well, there's one, but we'll get into that later. You have everything you need out the gate. You just don't know it yet. I love games that do this, like Tunic and Outer Wilds. It's not so much ability gating as it is knowledge gating. The world's always been open to you, you just didn't know it. It's brilliant game design, and Tori 2 pulls it off very well, especially with only 2 actions. As stated earlier, your chicken can do 2 things, whistle and stomp. Each appears to have a singular use, but as the game progresses, you start to learn that whistling doesn't only attract things, but it can also be used to play little tunes that do other things. I don't want to spoil too much, just know it's cool. The same could be said about how you interact with the environment. Playing through the game will reveal the secrets to these interactions, making you smack your forehead because you didn't realize this stuff sooner. It's a good feeling. The realization of recontextualizing the world, not the forehead smacking. That hurts. Exploration in the game's hard to pin down whether it's good or not. The game initially hooked me with intrigue by dropping me into the world with little guidance or dialogue. All I knew was I was a chicken, and I could move right. But then you start seeing this black mist shooting out of the ground, and a frog starts communicating with you telepathically. And you find these stones that accept all the gold things you've been collecting, and you're like, what the hell did that do? Then you finally get to the village, which has been teased to you from the start, only to discover that it's being destroyed by a huge purple crystal under the village. As silly as it sounds, this cutesy game about a chicken on a tropical island had me theory crafting, and my motivation to explore was at an all-time high. Then you play the game, and you play it, and you play it, and you soon realize that this is all there is to it. Puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. No upgrades, no items, no gear, no leveling. It's just the same few puzzles over and over and over. Bubble frog, bird that grabs you and takes you somewhere, masks that hate glowing butterflies, etc., etc. The game sorely lacks any sort of dopamine dumps. You know what I mean. You all play Metroidvanias. You find the new biome, boom, dopamine. New ability, boom, more dopamine. A new sword, a hidden wall, a level up, boom, 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 a dopamine frenzy. Toki Tori 2 doesn't do anything to keep that dopamine a-flowing, at least not for Metroidvania enthusiasts. And this is where I come to the game's defense. From my understanding, the devs never intended Toki Tori 2 to be considered a Metroidvania. They set out to create a puzzle game, and it just so happened that the MV community took it in as one of their own. So, to the devs' credit, they nailed what they set out to do, create an interesting puzzle game. And I imagine puzzle game enjoyers get all kinds of dopamine dumps while playing Toki Tori 2. But as an MV enthusiast, I can say Toki Tori 2 leaves much to be desired on the exploration front. There's not much to collect, just those golden trinkets that don't provide any immediate or incremental rewards. And if you're not rewarding me incrementally, how am I supposed to get conditioned or addicted, huh? But I don't blame the devs for this oversight. I blame this solely on the Metroidvania community for mislabeling this game. Alright, it's finally time to address the elephant in the room. Is Toki Tori 2 really even a Metroidvania? With the authority vested unto me as a self-proclaimed Metroidvania guru, I'd say no. The main components that make an MV are as follows. Needs to be a platformer, needs to have an interconnected world, needs elements of non-linearity, and needs ability gating. There's more to Metroidvanias, but these are the basics of the basics, the pillars by which all Metroidvanias are supported. Toki Tori 2 has 2.5 of these pillars at best. Interconnected world, elements of non-linearity, and I gave half a point to ability gating because it's more like knowledge gating. Toki Tori 2, in my humblest of humble opinions, is not a platformer. And it's crucial that MVs be platformers because Metroidvanias are a subgenre of platformers. That's why games like Dark Souls and Legend of Zelda aren't considered Metroidvanias. They're not platformers. Many of the games in those franchises don't even have a f***ing jump button, at least not one that's non-contextual. And neither does Toki Tori 2. Thus, not a platformer, and thus, not a Metroidvania. And with that established, I really don't have a lot more to say about this game. I analyze Metroidvanias on this channel, not puzzle games. I only did a video on this because so many people consider Toki Tori 2 Plus a Metroidvania. I hope people watch this and spread the word that it's not. It's a puzzle game. Is it a good puzzle game? I don't know. I don't like puzzle games. I can say it's a pretty game, which is saying a lot because I don't like 2.5D games. Everything's bright and cheery, even in the caves, and Toki Tori is absolutely adorable, and I'd die for him if anyone tried to hurt him. But there are a few things I can say about Toki Tori 2. It's an older game, released in 2013, when achievements and trophies were a much bigger deal for some reason. At least, that's how it seemed to me. Anyway, because the achievements and trophies were a big deal back then, there's a lot of stuff in Toki Tori 2 that's just for these achievement hunters. Like finding the Dark Room or the Red Rose. Finding them doesn't do anything other than give you an achievement, and that's super disappointing for people like me who don't give a shit about that stuff. And what makes this extra painful is the fact that you need to collect every single gold trinket in the game in order to find these worthless things, meaning the game-spanning collectathon is optional and rewarded with bullshit and a shit obstacle course that gives you another bullshit achievement. God, I was so pissed. Getting those wings after collecting all those trinkets got me so excited, but it all just ended up being a colossal waste of my time. Would I recommend Toki Tori 2 to MV fans? No, not even if I didn't like you. Toki Tori 2's not a Metroidvania, so why would I tell Metroidvania fans to play it? And if you're a Metroidvania fan and like Toki Tori 2, it's probably because you like puzzle games in general. I don't, and I feel slighted because everyone keeps saying it's a Metroidvania, like it's some sort of elaborate prank to fool us real MV fans. But I can't stay mad. Just look at this guy. Look at him. Are you looking at him? Duh.